Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action that unites 193 countries around the world. If these global goals are fulfilled by 2030, life on Earth will be better for everyone. So, what are these goals? Eliminate poverty in all its forms. No hunger. Everyone should have safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Everyone has equal access to healthcare, thus ensuring our well-being and a healthy life. Equal access to a quality education. Ensure gender equality where women and girls have the same opportunities as men and boys. By achieving these goals, each member of our society will be equal, safe, and happy. UN global goals also include access to safe drinking water and sanitation, access to clean energy that is safe for people and the environment, sustainable and stable economic growth. Everyone has a decent job, strong infrastructure, and the support of innovations. Lower inequality within and among countries. Cities and settlements be developed without damaging the environment and people. Achieving these goals will result in the well-being of people and our planet. We can further take care of our environment with the following goals: sustainable and safe production and consumption of products. Take urgent measures to reduce climate change and its impact. Ensure the sustainable use and protection of ocean and sea resources. Restore and protect Earth's ecosystems. By achieving these goals, we will form a society where strong institutions ensure peace and justice. It is important for everyone to be involved and to build partnerships for achieving sustainable development goals. You are part of this process. Demand the implementation of these goals. Take the lead and share information with your friends.
We can be.
We must be the first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done.
The global goals.
a 15-year plan
For everyone, everywhere.
with no one left behind.
We will live in a world
Where nobody
anywhere lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
Where no one
wakes in the morning
asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die.
Diseases we know how to cure.
and where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where
Everyone
goes to school.
and education gives us the knowledge
and skills
For a fulfilling life.
We will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive
And be powerful.
and safe.
we cannot succeed if half the world is head down.
We will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
And proper toilets
At home,
At school.
and at work.
We will live in a world where there is sustainable energy for everyone.
Heat, light.
and power for the whole planet.
Without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
and new wealth.
Leads to decent jobs.
For everyone.
And we will live in a world where our industry,
our infrastructure and our
Best innovations.
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
We will live in a world
Where prejudices and extremes of inequality
Are defeated.
inside our countries,
And between different countries.
where people live in cities and communities
that are safe, progressive,
and support everyone who lives there.
where we replace
What we consume.
planet where we put back.
What we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back the threat of climate
change.
where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas.
We'll restore
and protect
Life on land.
The forests,
Animals.
The earth itself.
With peace between and inside countries.
Where all governments are open.
and answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
With everyone equal before the law.
Where all countries and we their people.
Work together.
Partnerships of all kinds.
To make these goals a reality.
These are the United Nations global goals.
For sustainable development.
Let's get to work.
Did you know that the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a universal call to action that unites 193 countries around the world? If these global goals are fulfilled by 2030, life on Earth will be better for everyone. So, what are these goals? Eliminate poverty in all its forms. No hunger. Everyone should have safe, nutritious, and sufficient food. Everyone has equal access to healthcare, thus ensuring our well-being and a healthy life. Equal access to a quality education. Ensure gender equality where women and girls have the same opportunities as men and boys. By achieving these goals, each member of our society will be equal, safe, and happy. UN global goals also include access to safe drinking water and sanitation, access to clean energy that is safe for people and the environment, sustainable and stable economic growth. Everyone has a decent job, strong infrastructure, and the support of innovations. Lower inequality within and among countries. Cities and settlements be developed without damaging the environment and people. Achieving these goals will result in the well-being of people and our planet. We can further take care of our environment with the following goals: sustainable and safe production and consumption of products. Take urgent measures to reduce climate change and its impact. Ensure the sustainable use and protection of ocean and sea resources. Restore and protect Earth's ecosystems. By achieving these goals, we will form a society where strong institutions ensure peace and justice. It is important for everyone to be involved and to build partnerships for achieving sustainable development goals. You are part of this process. Demand the implementation of these goals. Take the lead and share information with your friends.
We can be.
We must be.
The first generation
to end extreme poverty.
The generation
Most determined
to fight injustice
and inequalities.
The generation that saves the planet from climate change.
And this is how it will get done.
the global goals
A 15-year plan
for everyone, everywhere.
with no one left behind.
We will live in a world
Where nobody
Anywhere lives in extreme poverty.
Where no one
goes hungry.
where no one wakes in the morning
Asking if there will be food today.
We will live in a world where no child has to die.
Diseases we know how to cure.
And where proper health care
is a lifelong right for us all.
We will live in a world where
everyone goes to school.
and education gives us the knowledge
And skills.
for a fulfilling life.
we will live in a world where all girls and all women have equal opportunities to thrive
And be powerful.
and safe.
We cannot succeed if half the world is held back.
We will live in a world
where all people can get clean water
And proper toilets
at home, at school, and at work.
We will live in a world where there's sustainable energy for everyone.
Heat, light, and power for the whole planet.
Without destroying the planet.
We will live in a world where economies prosper.
And new wealth.
Leads to decent jobs for everyone.
And we will live in a world where our industry,
Our infrastructure and our
Best innovations
Are not just used to make money, but to make all our lives better.
we will live in a world
Where prejudices and extremes of inequality
are defeated.
Inside our countries,
And between different countries.
where people live in cities and communities
that are safe, progressive,
And support everyone who lives there.
where we replace
What we consume.
Planet where we put back.
what we take out of the earth.
We live in a world that is decisively rolling back from climate
change.
where we restore and protect the life in our oceans and seas. We'll restore
and protect
Life on land.
The forests,
the earth itself.
With peace between and inside countries.
Where all governments are open.
and answer to us for what they do at home and abroad.
And the justice rules.
With everyone equal before the law.
Where all countries and we their people.
Work together.
Partnerships of all kinds.
To make these goals
A reality.
These are the United Nations global goals.
For sustainable development.
Let's get to work.
Let's make it happen.
Did you that unites 193 countries around the world? If these global goals
Despite very significant development gains globally, which has raised many millions of people out of absolute poverty, there is substantial evidence that inequality between the world's richest and poorest countries is widening.
Today, the world has become more complex, and poorer countries have experienced significant economic and social development. However, the inequalities within countries have also been growing, and some commentators now talk of a global north and global south, referring respectively to richer and poorer communities which are found within and between countries.
There are many causes of these inequalities, including the availability of natural resources, different levels of health and education, the nature of country's economy and its industrial sectors, international trading policies and access to markets, how countries are governed and international relationships between countries, conflict within and between countries, and a country's vulnerability to natural hazards and climate change. So most importantly, researchers are called upon to address the barriers to climate science in the global south. These culturally diverse nations of global south are united by common threats to their sustainable futures. Challenges faced in creating collaborations, partnerships across national borders and academic disciplines. Through Global Sustainable Futures Progress Through Partnership Network, we want to play a leading role in creating an inclusive, collaborative, innovative, and engaging platform for early career researchers and like-targeted stakeholders, including startups and entrepreneurs, supported by experienced senior researchers and business leaders, where everyone can share in their research, innovation, visualization, and enthusiasm in parallel to network success. Our fundamental objective is to create a strong research environment, building to a multidisciplinary and multisectoral team of endogenous professionals that would be capable of pursuing and utilizing participatory and integrative approaches in solving public and environmental sustainability problems. Therefore, our priorities are empowering and capacity building, working with researchers to empower communities and individuals, increase independence and support to those who need it, give researchers and stakeholders the legacy of sustainable practices, fair and inclusive, improve economic and social and environmental equality, pursuing development which offers fair distribution and access to good quality life and working conditions. Networking and engagement provide an innovative and global-wide platform to make global sustainable futures progress through partnership network, an effective and well-connected network, transforming traditional society systems to more sustainable systems. And above all, it is sustainability. So, co-create sustainable and resilient development pathways to secure sustainable futures for all and everyone. So, the key focus is mobilization and engagement, building a community of practice, creating a strong leadership, and producing a critical mass of good practices. 800 coordinators from 105 countries have joined me. So I also call upon you to join us and co-create sustainable futures together.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Mabuhay from Baliaug University, Philippines. Welcome to the Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series, Session 5. I am Hasmin Tayaw, the Assistant Vice President for Academic Affairs of Baliaug University, Philippines, your moderator. This webinar series, which is conducted every third Friday of the month, which we started last November 2021 to April 2022, is brought to us by Baliaug University in cooperation with the University College of Estate Management, Global Sustainable Futures Together Network, the Opeduca Project, and Maastricht University, the Netherlands. As we say, time flies so fast. We kickstarted this webinar series last November 19, 2021, and we are now on our 5th session. Next to this session is the highly anticipated culminating activity come April 22, 2022. The past sessions have surely provided us with insightful, comprehensive, and data-driven discussions on the following topics: Introduction to Sustainability, Systems Thinking and Problem Analysis, the meaning and impact of the SDGs, and Sustainability Leadership. For our webinar guidelines, kindly use your complete name and name of affiliation as your Zoom account name. Please keep yourself on mute. If you have a question, you may type it in the chat box and share your ideas. Allow me to share some gentle reminders about your participation to this webinar series. Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series is comprised of 6 online events or short workshop events. These online events will take place on the 3rd Friday of every month from November 2021 to April 2022. At the end of the 6 online events, each participant will receive a certificate of participation in Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series. Evaluation of the activity will be done before ending the program. Well, it is such a delight to see all our participants from various countries and from different sectors for a shared purpose. That is, we come together for a sustainable future. At this moment, to formally welcome us all to this virtual engagement, let us have the President of the Baliaug University, Philippines, Dr. Patricia Bustos Lagunda. Dr. Lagunda.
Thank you, Hasmin. Again, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the administration of the Baliaug University in the Philippines, let me extend my warmest welcome to all attending this Shaping for Sustainable Futures Together series. We are now on the 5th session of this series, which started last November 2021. And for those who have been with us since the start, we have been saying that this online series is really indeed a brilliant idea of our cooperation with the University College of Estate Management, Global Sustainable Futures Network, the Opeduca Project, and Maastricht University in Netherlands. The previous sessions have provided us with comprehensive inputs on introduction to sustainability, systems thinking and problem analysis, the meaning and impact of the Sustainable Development Goals, and sustainability leadership. Today, we shall have another relevant topic on sustainability, which is global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. For the past 4 months, this series has been presented by a multidisciplinary alliance of scholars and practitioners, particularly our delivery team. And they are our visiting fellows for Baliaug University on global sustainability. And I am sure that they will again provide all the participants with action-based perspectives for today's topic on sustainability and CSR. The interrelatedness of the 17 SDGs pose both inspiration and challenge for us to come together and unite all our efforts to achieve global sustainability, which indeed is tough and complex. But with our increasing awareness on this topic and our commitment to contribute to improve the quality of life of the future generations, we can gradually achieve global sustainability. Hence, we need to have both holistic and, I believe, granular views of the entire system. Sustainability and its pillars, human, social, economic, and environmental, need our deliberate efforts of action in order to meet our present needs without compromising the ability of the next and future generations in meeting their needs. With this, I enjoin everyone to participate in this fifth or second to the last learning session. And for the last one, we will have it on April 22, which is not the third Friday, but the fourth Friday, because April 18 being Good Friday, and it's observed here in the Philippines. So we will have it on April 22 and learn sustainable practices in order to promote balance between the environment, economy, and equity. In closing, I wish all of us another productive and meaningful webinar on global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. And together, as a community of practice, if I may borrow the words of Dr. Regnuka, let's co-create a sustainable future. Thank you very much and stay safe, everyone.
Thank you very much, President Dr. Legunda. Indeed, all of us are looking forward to completing the remaining webinar that's on April 2022 and become agents of sustainable future. At this juncture, let me give the virtual floor to Dr. Francia R. Santos, Country Coordinator of Global Sustainable Futures, to introduce the Baliaug University Visiting Fellows for Sustainability, or the members of the delivery team. Dr. Francia.
Good afternoon. So it's good morning and good evening in other places. So to all participants, GSFN, Baliaug University, Maastricht University, and Opeduca Project. Good afternoon once again here in the Philippines. So welcome. So it's both a privilege and honor to introduce the delivery team of the 5th session of the Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series. Most probably, you know them because you have attended the past sessions. Our first speaker has been the Vice Chair of the Geneva-based Roundtable on Sustainable Biofuels and Biomaterials. And he is a member of the Committee on International, Social, and Environmental Alliance. He advises on sustainability strategies and implementation for companies embarking on their sustainability journey. So for today's session, his topic will focus on the subject of global sustainability, its relevance to business, and the development of CSR as a strategy for corporations to be seen to play their role as good corporate citizens in society and its evolution going forward. So let's all welcome Mr. Koo Hat Awun. Our next speaker is the founder of the Global Sustainable Futures Network. So currently, GSFN comprises more than 1,000 coordinators from more than 100 different countries. So these coordinators are coming from the academics. These are all academics, scholars, like-minded, system thinkers, innovation practitioners, change makers. They have creative voices from all disciplines who want to enable sustainable transitions for future generations in line with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. The network aims to forge connections outside of academia through institutionalizing university partnerships with government and communities in addressing pressing challenges and transforming societies. So Dr. Thakur's lecture will centralize on sustainability, focusing on low carbon, net zero baseline 2050 scenario, CSR environment management and health system. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the main author of the Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series, Dr. Renuka Thakur from University College of Estate Management, United Kingdom. So let's both welcome the visiting fellows for global sustainability from the Multidisciplinary Alliance of Scholars and Practitioners. Mr. Koo Hak Awan, the convener for Global Sustainability Summits and Dialogues, Global and ASEAN Green Chamber of Commerce from Malaysia. And Dr. Renuka Thakur, the main author of this SSFTS, the Together series. So we are so thankful for the generosity of our visiting fellows for global sustainability, for sharing their expertise on how to shape sustainable futures together. So let's all take advantage of this opportunity to learn from them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Am I going first, right?
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Oh, can I screen share? I'm disabled at the moment. Okay, thank you very much. So, okay.
Stop sharing.
Okay. All right. So I'll begin now. Thank you very much for inviting me and having the opportunity to speak today at the 5th session of this series, Shaping Sustainable Futures Together. And the topic for this afternoon is global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. I would like to ask the question, basically, in terms of the agenda that I would start today, I'd like to cover 3 areas: global sustainability, corporate social responsibility, and beyond CSR, beyond corporate social responsibility. What would be the area after that? So global sustainability, what is it? First, let's look at globalization. Globalization, interconnectedness of supply chain, as we all know, has increased trade and economic benefits. It's been a phenomenon ever since, shall I say, Magellan traversed the world and also landed in the Philippines. And, you know, he started the whole process of globalization, which 500 years ago began with him. And today we have people who can go to every corner of the world through the interconnectedness of transport, of trade, routes, and of course, lately in the terms of communication, the internet and telephony and broadcasting of various television channels and information and culture and all that. But it has also created a monopoly power of corporations on a global scale. We'll look at it later, how companies have basically been able to go through, break down national boundaries and operate in regions around the world, and in fact, the whole world. And with that kind of pervasiveness, they have impacted the environment, and at the same time, they have also widened income and wealth inequity. Now, this is a word aggregation, and it would connote all the words that you can think of related to globalization. We have internationalization, communication, the worldwide internet, finance, data, power, export, and these are the common terms that you normally associate with what globalization is. But it also has a footprint, and we call this the ecological footprint. The extent that humanity has actually pervaded the world has resulted in impact on the ecology of the world. And I would like to introduce this particular website called the Ecological Footprint website. A few years ago, I came across this website. It was created by a group of people who wanted to measure how much impact all activities have on the ecology of the world. As you can see, we have basically processes on the demand side. The ecological footprint measures the ecological assets that a given population of product requires to produce the natural resources it consumes, including our food, our fiber products, livestock, fish products, timber, and even space for urban infrastructure. And of course, to absorb the waste, especially the carbon emissions. On the supply side, the nation represented the capacity of the country to have its ecological assets offer this kind of products. So in these areas, if left unharvested, can absorb the waste we generate, especially our carbon emissions coming from fossil fuel burning. So it encompasses every aspect of life, from energy, settlement, timber, paper, food fiber to seafood. And this, in a way, measures how much we are using up all our resources. So they have a very unique way of looking at this. And this is to look at what we call an Earth Overshoot Day. Imagine the world's ecological deficit is regarded as an overshoot. So that means to say, if we have one Earth, and if we have been consuming resources, we have been consuming today up to 1.75 Earths to provide the resources we need. This is based on the 2022 edition of the National Footprint and Biocapacity Account, which they have studiously taken into consideration. So it needs, what this means is that it takes the Earth 1 year and 8 months to regenerate what we use in 1 year. So you can imagine, we are actually consuming more than what the world can biologically or ecologically produce. So humanity uses more ecological resources that we can regenerate, and we have been overfishing, over-harvesting, and emitting more carbon dioxide into the atmosphere than the forests and the oceans can sequester. Oceans too, because algae and plankton, basically all the green vegetative life on the oceans, basically also sequester carbon. And they haven't been able to keep up with the activities that we have been generating on this Earth. So this is a very important way of looking at it. They started doing this in 1970 on this left-hand corner here. And at that time, we still had enough resources for one Earth to produce everything that we are consuming. As you can see, it got worse and worse. The Earth Overshoot Day went from December in 1972 to November in 1978, and then it retreated for a while in 80. This usually associated with the recession years. And it got worse and worse in 1988 to 94 to the year 2000, whereby I remember the old Overshoot Day was in October of the year, or September of the year. That means by the September of the year, we have actually consumed more resources than we can actually, than the Earth can actually reproduce, safely produce for us. And it hasn't got better in the 2000s. It has receded till August or July, until the year 2020, where it was in the late July that we had the Earth Overshoot Day. As you can see, in 2020, because of the COVID pandemic and the subsequent economic downturn, there was a improvement over the Overshoot Day to sometime in August. But now in 2021, it has got back to July again. So we are in actually no way making any progress where this Overshoot Day is concerned, in spite of 2020, and you can expect that in 2022, we will probably move to sometime in July. So we must begin to make the ecological limit central to our decision making and to use human ingenuity to find new ways to live well within its bounds. Of course, this means investing in technology and infrastructure that will allow us to operate in a resource-constrained world. This concept was actually introduced by Mattis Wackernagle and William Rees at the University of British Columbia. The ecological footprint launched the broader footprint movement, including the carbon footprint, and is now widely used by scientists, businesses, governments, individuals, and institutions working to monitor ecological resource use and advance sustainable development. So on the left here, you can see what the global carbon footprint is. On a national basis, China and the US are big emitters of carbon. But on a per capita basis, they are very small. And in fact, the biggest Virgin Islands, US, Singapore, Gilberta, the small urban centers where they actually deal with a lot of probably fossil fuel processing. So that's a very big picture that we draw from this to show that we are actually living in a world where we have strained our resources. The other trend that I would like to draw attention to is urbanization and the impact on its environment. The inadequacy of urban planning, urban systems, and the current levels of urban metabolism in waste management, circular economy perspectives in human habitat management, and our difficulty in moderating corporate behavior has resulted, of course, in a lot of urban issues. As you can see in this graph, by the year 2010, there were more urban people than rural people. From the year 1950 to the year 2050, 100 years, the level of urban rural population has not exceeded more than 3.5 billion people, whereas you can see the sharp, steady rise in the urban population from 1950 to about 5.5 billion by the year 2050, and that's projected. That means almost 60–70% of the human race will be living in urban areas. So this is a phenomenon we have to take connections of, the rise of the urban dwellers, and there are many areas with which they are impacting, including Asia, which has gone up to 20%. And of course, Africa is the biggest source of urbanization, including Latin America. So these are actually creating pressures on the earth as we live on it. So global sustainability, are we sustainable? No, we are not, I'm sad to say. The overshoot numbers, day by the numbers, tell us that 3.8 billion years ago, life was first evident on Earth. But the increase in world population has been 121% since 1970. And we have had a minus 58% decline in average population size of the vertebrate species 1970. Our biodiversity is diminishing by the year. And 57% of our world's humanity's ecological footprint is really carbon-based. So this brings us to very serious concern, so much so that there is a green movement that has emerged in the last few decades to counter this trend. Basically, what is the green movement? The green movement is a diverse, scientific, social, conservation, and political movement that broadly addresses the concern of environmentalism. It aims at creating a holistic and ecological view of the world. It makes people conscious of stopping further degradation and deterioration of nature and its resources. Its interests, therefore, are quite really opposed to the interests of business. Generally, environmental and social impact, loss of biodiversity, natural ecosystem services were not factored in by businesses, and they still seek to keep it that way. So in doing so, costs of production are seriously environmentally and socially undercosted, with obvious economic distortions with respect to pricing, supply, and demand. We have a website, I put it here, True Price, of a organization which is a social enterprise, and basically they offer methodologies and they offer ways of calculating the true price of commodities and products that we have. I think they did a sample in coffee, which I'm not going to show here. You can go to the site to see for yourself. And you will be surprised to see what the true price of coffee is when you calculate the environmental impact, the true wages that the people who grow coffee should actually deserve. Its mission is to realize sustainable products that are affordable to all by enabling consumers to see and voluntarily pay the true price of the products we pay. But that is from the consumer point of view. What do the businesses think? The global sustainability mega force is really impacting in various ways: climate change, wealth, urbanization, population growth, deforestation, energy, food security, water security. These are all the mega forces that are impacting on business. And they have actually created price increase and volatility. New regulations have come in to actually moderate their impact. Physical weather, of course, has been what we actually see in terms of bigger frequency of tropical storms, typhoons, and even forest fires in various countries. You have changes in consumer preferences and, of course, resource constraint in production. So all these point to emerging risks and opportunities. Now, generally, businesses exclude, when they conduct business as usual, what we know as biodiversity, ecology, and overall environment, and other intangibles as costs. This undercosting of raw material and environmental impact is considered business as usual in the accounting conventions. And there has been little change or improvement in this. Products and services are never made at their true cost and sold at their true prices. So businesses are never really evaluated at their true viability, taking outside of the boundary considerations into full measure. And when we look at globalization, we can see that companies have been able to expand far and wide. By country, the biggest public companies in the world are demonstrated in this chart. You have a lot of consumer companies in Europe. You have the mining companies in Brazil, BHP in Australia, and you have Apple, tech companies in the US. You have tech companies in China and Asia as well. But they all move consumer consumption, and they control a lot of our consumption habits and our spending patterns. Do you know that 10 companies, in effect, control what we eat? So these 10 companies, from Nestle, PepsiCo, Kellogg's, Mars, Danone, Unilever, Coca-Cola, basically they own all these brands. And basically they actually control most of the consumer foods that we all so much enjoy. And they have actually improved and increased their marketing and their reach into the consumer population to such a great extent that we can't think of doing without any of this. But do they care about pollution? As you can see here, plastic pollution is one big example of the effects of such great globalized multinationals working across the globe. And they actually use this in terms of packaging their products to make it attractive, either in bottling or in single-use plastics. But pollution is a real big consequence. And with the pressure from non-governmental organizations, a lot of spotlight or focus has been put on these multinationals and big corporations around the world. And you can see here around the world, in all these basically general regions, the top regional polluter is based on the number of countries per continent where the brand audits have been recorded finding this company. When they do actual auditing of how a pollution comes about and attributed to which companies, these same companies basically top the list. And Coca-Cola consistently top 3 in both regional and global categories. But there's also political pressure, As a result, in terms of plastic use, there's a lot of political pressure to improve matters. There's been legislation imposed in North America, in Europe, against single-use plastics, in recycled plastics, South America, Africa, Southeast Asia, Asia Pacific, and Indian subcontinent. So what we are seeing is pressures on a corporation, especially large ones, the ones that we have just cited earlier, to modify their behavior in society and in the global context. And they basically have got to pay heed. So they are actually like these brands committing to change, to use recycled material. The names that we have mentioned earlier have been involved. Like Coca-Cola has projected to use 50% of recycled plastics by 2030, and so has Pepsi-Cola by 25%, and Nestle. So what's actually creating the impetus, apart from political NGO pressure, to look at this? This is the circular economy schematic, whereby they want to look at how they can perhaps gain a better profile with regard to society and the consumer, and in terms of their own manufacturing economies and efficiencies, by taking away waste material from the disposal stage of their whole consumption pattern, and either reusing, remanufacturing, or refurbishing, or recycling back into the whole process. So what we're beginning to see is the beginning of what we call a circular economy. And this are actually strategies which companies can use to lessen their various impacts on the environment. And we look at this because we can see that a lot of these companies work within what we call a system boundary that determines its incoming material and processing costs measured within the boundary, set against the revenue streams from outgoing sales and products, thereby resulting in what they call a calculation of profit gain. I covered this in earlier presentations. I just like to repeat it now because I think it's relevant. So usually profit maximization requires to treat all externalities outside the system boundary as free or without cost. And this, of course, includes all the environmental factors such as air, water, soil, biodiversity, social factors such as health and safety. So this brings us to the practice of corporate social responsibility. In order to recognize that there's actually a responsibility of the corporation outside the system boundary, the term corporate social responsibility was officially coined in 1953 by American economist Howard Bowen in his publication, Social Responsibilities of the Businessman. By the 1980s, early CSR continued to evolve as more organizations began incorporating social interests in their business practices while becoming more responsive to stakeholders. And this time, there was not a very clear area where you could quantify or identify what activities account for corporate social responsibility. It could be donating to a social cause, maybe the senior citizens, the handicapped, charity, philanthropy. It could be committing to more research. It could be committing to education. It could be committing to scholarships. Or it could even be donation to universities or work or areas of study done in certain sectors relating to their businesses. The 1990s marked the beginning of widespread approval of CSR with expanded and improved CSR models by providing a framework for assessing the impact and outcomes of CSR programs. We could see that especially family offices, they began to streamline their impact of their financial contributions by assessing where these financial contributions had the most significant results, and therefore they could coordinate activities. But still, it was more qualitative than quantitative, and by the early 2000s, CSR had become an essential strategy for many organizations. Beyond CSR, we see the emergence of ESG standards and practices. The CSR was basically housed before in what we call the Communications of Public Relations Department, where periodic statements and periodic announcements would go out to inform the public as to the good that the corporation is doing as a good corporate citizen of society. And in case if any negative attribute or news comes out, the CSR will be held as the counterbalance to these negative attributes so that the company can be seen in good light. While that's the loose way of looking at CSR, the ESG, which has been recently introduced, has been to help measure or quantify such social efforts with relation to contribution towards the environment or social causes. More so for the interest of the investors. We're now looking at the investing community, the financial community, who are very interested to see what companies have been doing in these areas of environmental, social, governance criteria, so as to improve their public performance, over and above that being that of a good corporate citizen. And they want to apply these non-financial factors as part of the analysis process with which to identify material risks and growth opportunities. Now, this is very interesting. Companies are now identified for what risks they might bear or they might pose to investments. So investors and financiers are now looking at how much of a risk to the environment, to the portfolio that they have, that if they continue to invest in these companies. So this ESG criteria focus on quantitative results that help investors make better decisions about the risks and ethics of particular companies. Now, they come in the form of reporting, which help consumers decide which businesses to support as well, and which not to. and giving them an indication if a company's practices are aligned with their own values. So now we see companies looking at aligning or realigning their values with that of consumers who feel that protection of the earth and social values are important. So ESG metrics have a quantitative performance indicators aligned to particular ESG criteria. And the other trend that I wanted to note is that ESG also grew out of the other environmental and health and safety practices that a company engage in. There are a lot of companies that maintain environmental, occupational health safety, community health safety. So there were actually departments within companies that look at these aspects of it. ESG is broader. Of course, they look at matters and issues outside within the company, but as impacting outside the company as well. So you can see this overlap between ESG and EHS. But both affect the environment, both affect the social, and both affect the governance. And the areas of commonality look at pollution emission, the high hazards, and the negative impact of health hazards that might have on the environment or even their workers. And of course, the last one, the governance pillar, is basically to look at how board structure, executive compensation, whether it takes into account the disparities between the minorities and across gender, and whether they look at issues like bribery and corruption, political lobbying practices, whether the company engages into that. And this goes over to procurement practice, risk management, and of course the internal integrity of the company in ensuring health and safety among its workers. So this leads us to the next area, which is the pathway with which companies now think to undertake to attain ESG compliance. And every company looking into this is already going way past the corporate social responsibility. In terms of that, the company has to look and engage with its stakeholders. And by stakeholders, we mean not only the shareholders, not only its employees, but also the customers, also the supply chain input suppliers who basically provide the raw material and the intermediate products that the company uses. And of course, everybody engaged in the entire supply or value chain of the company. And not only that, stakeholders also include all those areas, communities that are impacted by the company's activities, including communities affected by, let's say, pollution, as we saw earlier, or plastic in the environment. That includes nature, biodiversity, and the consuming public. So looking at the next step, they have to identify where the hotspots are, the areas of issues. They have to set targets. They have to look at improvement plans, track progress, communicate results to shareholders, and create a feedback loop for continuous improvement. So this is a cycle that looks at how to adopt ESG compliance. There is now a new area called corporate political responsibility, CPR, over and above CSR. This is very interesting because in certain countries, corporations not only have to look at their social responsibilities, but they actually basically try to influence lawmakers, politicians, into promoting laws that basically favor them. So, indicator of whether a company is exercising good corporate political responsibility is indicated by their political spending. What do they commit to lobbying and advocacy? Is it for the greater good of society, or is it for the advancing the corporation's narrow interest? So this, is a new element. It's happening in the US at the moment. It probably will spread because it will go to influence a lot of countries where corporates have a undue influence over the political structure or the political institutions that govern a country. So areas included in this responsibility: do the corporate political activities support the systems on which the markets, society, and life depend? And are they accountable? Are they transparent? So these are the kind of areas that we look at. Going forward, there are other areas where a company can exhibit corporate social responsibility by looking at not only ESG, but also voluntary sustainability standards if they want to aspire to gain certain market access. FSC, for example, is the Forest Stewardship Council. They look after timber. And then you have Bonsucro, which looks after sugar. Palm oil, as you know, is governed by RSPO. And there's a textile exchange. There's fair trade. So these companies or these standards are basically governed under the International Social and Environmental Accreditation and Labeling Alliance, which is based out of London. Now, of course, the Sustainable Development Goals are what we commonly hear of now, over and above CSR, and there are 17 of them. I don't have to repeat all of them here, but what is interesting is that you can see in this next slide how they are grouped under the environmental, social, and governance categories. So under environment, you have 6, 7, 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15. Under social, you have poverty, education, good health, gender equality, clean water, reduce inequalities, partnership, peace, justice, and so on. And then you have governance, where you have sustainable cities, gender equality as well. You have climate action, you have partnerships for goals, peace, justice again. So this is a very interesting way of categorizing the social development goals into ESG, into an ESG context. Now, I'd like to end by going back to a slide that I've commonly put up, I think about 3 times now, whereby if a company or a corporation wants to engage in sustainability, it needs to redefine its business system boundary. What we have here on the left is business as usual, as I alluded to earlier, where society and environment is outside the system boundary of a company. And if you want to transition to true cost, you have to take into account the cost, the true value of what labor, in this case, let's say providing fair wages to the farmers and to the workers, and to the environment, to the type of biodiversity impact that the company's activities may result in, or the true cost of certain commodities instead of buying them at a lower cost because of unfair practices. You have to be very fair to the stakeholders, the communities that produce them, to make sure that they are accorded the right prices. Let's say in fair trade, they have various standards for that. And then you have a system boundary that is expanded to actually accommodate all that. So with that, I would like to end, and thank you very much for listening. I hope it's been helpful and beneficial to understand the topic of global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay, thank you, Mr. Koo.
Yes.
So I think we're now ready for the topic care of Dr. Renu Katakor.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. So everyone, just I'm really sorry that I won't be able to show my face today. I have a power cut, so I'm connecting through phone, and I was very fortunate actually to compile my slides and send it to Rina, and we are able to share my slides also. So anyway, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm very grateful again to Baliaug organizing team, the university, the president, Dr. Patricia Lagunda, and my dear friend Santos, Dr. Francia Santos, and very supporting lady, Rina, and also our delivery team, Koo, Hook, and Professor Joe Hussain. He is not present today. However, we are very grateful to him for being a part of our delivery team. So thank you, Koo. I think your presentation took us through the journey of global sustainability global issues and global sustainability. Please move the slide, please. Thank you. Yeah, so I acknowledge also I'm grateful to my university, University College of Estate Management, who has been supporting us throughout as part of my network. Thank you. And also now, yeah, please go to the content slide after this. Yeah, thank you. So today I will cover basically to understand how we individuals have connection to this global connection, which Ku has very nicely explained to us. And then I will go through some carbon intensive, low carbon and zero carbon terms, which are very common nowadays, and explain you what is scope 1, 2, 3, and we will see what CSR criteria means. So please move to the slide 4. Thank you. Yeah, and the next slide, please. Yeah, so Ku has said, and we also know that we live in a consumer society. Now, how we can include or how we can connect ourselves individual to global sustainability? If we come out of that consumer, our actor, we are actor as a consumer mainly, and we think about convenience, popularity, immediate value, and disposability. What I mean here, that if you are trying to buy any product, it's interested in knowing to you, right? In a way of anything, it may be like you wanted it to be the best product to you. But if you own that product, once you own that product, you will think about how can I sustain that product as long as I can without any maintenance or without any loss. So I would say that if you can think this world or the earth to be like owner of that earth, then you will change the perception of looking towards the natural resources and how you use these natural resources and how you contribute to the sustainable futures. So take out of yourself the lens of consumer and put the lens of ownership. And if that is the change in you, then I think we can internalize all these problems and we can plan ahead of how we can restore back, protect and conserve our, and restore back our lost environment. As already, I will be touching on that overshoot day also later, but let me please go into detail of how this our individual to global connection is. So move to
Hello, Dr. Takor.
Yes, can you move the slide, please? I hear. So again, I come to my original, I think I have shared this slide twice or thrice now, but I'm so obsessed of this slide that it is a multi-level perspective. The whole system, our system works like from individual to policy level or a high level in a multiple layers. And here we see, if we simplify that layers, then we have at least 3 layers. at micro level, we individuals are there who are innovative, who wants to change and so on. And then at the macro level, we have the global situation where it would be policies and issues at global level. And when these two, and in middle we have meso level, which is market, which is the mainstream going on. So there are on the mainstream currently, as who has already explained, there are pressures from individuals where because they are also part like many individuals who are motivated to do something have got together to become macro level. We have these policies of climate change, for we need to change our mainstream activity. Slide.
Hello, Dr. Takor. I think there is a concern with regards to your audio. Hello.
Yes. Yes, I am.
Or the internet connection.
I have very low internet. Yes, I have very low internet connection. So just can you change the slide, please, now? Yeah, thank you. So these pressures, our individuals can have pressure as an owner of our nature and pressurize the mainstream market to move. What I'm showing here, that when the macro level policies and innovations and technological innovations as well as behavior, all these things come together, then we can change the market. So can we move to the next slide, please? Yeah, and there are again here as a part of complex adaptive system framework, we have three main components. And again, I would say that we and we form the
Hello?
internal system.
Yes,
And
Dr. Takor, excuse me. Ma'am, we cannot hear you clearly. To everyone, for everybody's. Yes, Dr. Takor, please go ahead.
I think we can go to another slide. And so as Ku has very beautifully explained the overall situation, but if I drill into its specifics, then I find that there are many uncertainties, many connections, interconnections, which we need to recognize, and how we can move this, because an individual has connection with organization, has connection with international organization, and has connection with international policies and so on. And so
we need to understand these connections. We need to move forward, understanding its uncertainties. Uncertainties are also very getting like increasing day by day. As for example, you have already seen with climate change, COVID, and then war. So you don't know what is coming in future, and therefore you need to adapt and be more competent to address these changes, address these uncertainties, and make changes. So please go to second slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, and with this latest climate change 2022, it has made it clear that we need to urgently, very, very urgently, need to look at our biodiversity, ecosystem, and human communities at global and regional level, and we being a part of that. And so here again, I'm talking about ownership, taking ownership. So next slide, please. I think Ko has already mentioned that how we are having our industries work and how we are going through the overshoot carbon scenario, because our all industries, traditionally, like when we are talking about traditional industries, they are all carbon intensive. So what I mean by carbon intensive is like they are burning fossil fuels, releasing chemicals into the atmosphere, reducing the amount of forest cover, and the rapid expansion of farming, development, and industrial activities all have contributed to releasing carbon dioxide into the atmosphere and changing the balance of the climate system. So there is a continuous depletion of biodiversity, and it is
Hello, Dr. Takor.
Next slide, please. Yeah, and our carbon emissions is like multiple of people, services per person, energy per service, and that makes our carbon emissions per unit energy. And therefore, you can understand that we must decrease the number of people using our services and energy use and so on. Either we can reduce it or we can reframe it in a sense of we can reframe the services which could be sustainable and better for us. Next slide. I can skip this slide because Ku has already explained this nicely. So next, please. And so what low carbon activities we can do individually? We can stop using fossil fuels as much as we can. That is cycling or sharing the car and so on. We can also generate less rubber energy, use less water, and so on. And we can also contribute towards developing energy sources from renewable energies. So change the slide, please. And we need to pledge to get to net zero. So net zero is something which we think that it is all for the businesses, but it is for individual as well. Net zero means achieving a balance between the carbon emitted into the atmosphere and the carbon removed from it. So emitted through your activities and removed through savings of, like, for example, planting a tree, which acts like a carbon sequester. So we need to balance this, our carbon emissions and carbon removed. And that can happen only when the amount of carbon we add to the atmosphere is no more than the amount removed. And so we need to have those practices. And so I will go now to the second slide. And this is specifically for organizations we used as a part of greenhouse gas protocol. However, it is applicable to an individual as well. Scope 1 is the direct carbon emissions which we create by the use of energy at site, in the sense of in our house maybe. And then scope 2 is the energy which is coming through the electricity to our house. So electricity is coming as a part of generation from powerhouse. Maybe it could be anything like renewable or non-renewable. And therefore we must go for renewable mostly, that is wind energy and so on. But at home, when we have scope 1, as I said, direct, we have direct control on it. We have to try to use less energy as possible, less water as possible, generate less waste as possible. And that can provide us, within our control activities, we can do a lot more. With the scope 2, as I said, it comes from externally, but it has direct impact on us. We can opt to go for green energy if possible and where it is provided. For example, in UK, we are allowed to go to green tariff, which means that the electricity comes from a renewable source, and that is possible. And scope 3 is a very highly crucial, because it is a supply chain. It deals with the supply chain. It is not in your control, and therefore it becomes very hard for us to understand how we can make it low carbon. And I won't go in too much details here, so we will go to the next slide. And I think CSR already has been explained by Koo, so I will again skip this and go to next slide. Yes, thank you. However, what has happened with CSR, as you have already seen from Koo's presentation, that it has been quite widely debated, and the scope of CSR has been increased a lot. And therefore, we have UN Global Compact, which you can see on the slide, which is a voluntary initiative based on CEO commitments to implement universal sustainability principles and to take steps to support UN goals. Okay, so here there is a connection, which I think Koo has also mentioned, but this is particularly for CEOs, But what I say, we individuals can become CEOs of ourselves and try to understand that how we can contribute to UN goals. And this UN goal complex has 3 principles, and they are derived from Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Labor Organizational Declaration of Foundation Principles and Rights to Work, the Rio de Janeiro on Environment and Development, and so on. So bringing all the good values which other organizations have developed, this UN nation has brought all these together to commit, to make CEOs, allow CEOs to commit to implement universal sustainability principles. So next slide, please. And this is just showing you the International Labour Organization, which I already mentioned. They have also tied up with the Universal Global Compact, and we have to value their standards. We have to implement them within our organization, and or within our work, I would say any activities, and which means that promoting opportunities for women and men to obtain decent and productive work, conditions of freedom, equity, security, and dignity. So next slide, please. And the Global Reporting Initiative is a leading organization in sustainability field, and they set up the standards which help businesses, governments, other organizations, as well as individuals to communicate the impact of business or any activity on critical sustainability issues. Next slide, please. And ISO 26000 social responsibility is one of the latest standard developed. Hello, can you mute, please? Anyone? Hello, mute. Okay. And so ISO 26,000 provides guidance on how businesses and organization can operate in socially responsible way. And this means that they have to act ethically and transparent way that contributes to the health and welfare of the society. Next slide, please. And this is the last one. I will just explain what are the CSR criteria which we need to look through ISO 26,000. And these are especially, they are divided into 4 groups, and main 4 groups are environment, labor and human rights, ethics, and sustainable procurement. And for environment, we need to look into energy consumption and our carbon emissions, use of water, and how we how our activities impact on the biodiversity. We should also look at local and incidental pollution, avoid those, and make sure that they do not repeat, put better controls on those happenings. And we have to also look at the raw material, chemical and waste, as just mentioned, in the whole life cycle process. And we must also look at the product use, end of the product, what we do with them, how we dispose them, and what carbon emissions are also included in those end of the life. And we have to also think about how it will impact customers' health and safety and many other things. So in labor and human rights, we have to look at the employee. This is focused mainly on the internal environment of the organization. However, it also includes the external environment, that how it impacts on the child labor or forced labor, and diversity, discrimination, and external stakeholder human rights. So, and then ethics, especially, I think it is very common that we shouldn't be including our committing any corruption. Anti-competitive practices should be in place, and responsible information, any information given by organization or individual, it should be very authentic. We should be taking responsibility for the information that we disseminate. And finally, we should have sustainable procurement, which is called that we have to take control of our supply chain. We have to make sure and communicate our sustainability as well as assess their sustainability and see that we are procuring the whole supply chain which is sustainable. So I will stop here. I'm really sorry for all the issues today with my audio. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. We understand that, Dr. Takor. Once again, thank you to the members of the delivery team, specifically to Dr. Renuka Takor and Mr. Koo Hock On for such a comprehensive and insightful discussion about our topic for today. There have been a lot of topics covered regarding global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. So let us give the members of the delivery team our virtual claps. We have surely learned a lot. The discussions of our delivery team may have probably sparked some questions from our participants. At this juncture, our virtual floor is now ready for our open forum. You may want to type in your questions or comments via our chat box, but we are highly encouraging everyone to unmute yourselves and ask your questions. Okay, so let me just read some comments here from Ma'am Bella Anis, such a very insightful. She has learned a lot from our discussion for today. Just a previous comment, same comment also from Ma'am Bella Anis. She has exposed to material for sustainable corporate social responsibility report using GRI and included the topic of SDGs, ESG toward the 10 principle of human rights, environment, labor, and anti-corruption. So we're waiting for some of our participants to give their questions or comments. It is our opportunity to ask from Mr. Koo and Dr. Takor. Just a recap. Mr. Koo Hock On has emphasized on globalization, the ecological footprint, Earth Overshoot Day campaign, the green movement, global sustainability megaforces and impact on business, development of corporate social responsibility, pathway to ESG compliance, and corporate political responsibility, or the CPR. Okay. How about Dr. Takor? She has emphasized the multi-level perspective of socio-technical system, the system comparison of complex adaptive system framework, integrated complex adaptive and socio-technical systems framework. A very interesting topic, climate change 2022, the carbon intensive activities, the pledge to net zero, UN goals, global reporting initiatives, the ISO 26000, and finally, the 21 CSR issues. Okay, so let me check our chat box once again. Do we have some comments or questions from, okay, we have one from Sir Tushar. Would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question to our members of the delivery team?
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, sir. Actually, my question is regarding corporate political responsibility, which Professor Koo has actually explained much more. I need to know what are the practical aspects wherein private sector actually gets involved in this, and how they can channelize, what are the key actions that can be taken by private sector, because as we know that they have more impact on government sector, and if they can channelize this, I think the net zero whatever we talk about, that can be energized more. So what are the possible actions and what positive way we can utilize it? That's it. Thank you.
Can I answer the question, Jasmine?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. This notion of corporate political responsibility just emerged out of the US very recently. As you can imagine, in the US, there's a lot of lobbying going on, and the lobbying by private sector corporates to influence the lawmakers and policies is the focus of this movement, corporate political responsibility. So the NGOs or the people who mooted this wanted to see that the corporates who lobby the lawmakers do it responsibly. That means they shouldn't do it for their own selfish corporate ends, but they should lobby or resist lobbying for their own corporate ends, but look at the overall general laws, whether it's good for the country, whether it's good for society, and it is beneficial, and it's just against that aspect. So there was a survey done between all the companies that has lobbying influence in the lawmakers or the political institutions. And it seems that companies such as the extractive industries, the mining, the fossil fuel, the companies that actually hurt the environment the most are the most active in lobbying, in providing money to the lawmakers. So that makes sense, right? Because they want to protect their interests against the interests of society and environment. So your question is, what can be done by the private sector to encourage this more? It's very interesting. On the other end of the spectrum, tech companies and consumer companies that know that they have got to play a role in balancing the interests of corporations and society. So they don't do this kind of what we call negative lobbying, but they lobby to have maybe equitable outcomes. If you remember, a lot of laws are basically compromises between the corporate sector and the social sector. So they basically take a very responsible and well-balanced approach. In this particular case, the corporate political responsibility is a movement created in the US, and it happened to be financed by a family that was in the timber and sawmilling business. So they made their money, they want to do good, so they provided the funds to do this research and to advocate this kind of activity. So different companies are at different stage of their maturity. Certain companies have already been successful, they have inherited a lot of wealth, they may have family offices, and this kind of money can be channeled for such purposes. They do a lot of research, like I mentioned, the research that shows which companies have the most lobbying finance impact. I'm sure in India and Philippines, even in Malaysia, you have all these things happening. So not enough studies, not enough clarity, not enough exposure, not enough transparency is created as to the influence companies have on the political institutions of the country. Maybe if you can finance, or we can finance, the private sector can finance such activities in Asia particularly, and create more transparency, which companies do more, do less in this respect, I think that will be a very helpful step forward. Maybe it's time to bring this kind of consciousness up to mark in Southeast Asia, or Asia for that matter. I hope I answered your question.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, Ku. I think we can just add on that, like, as you mentioned, that's true that, private sector has a very good position here to influence political policies and regulations. So it is definitely a job of research here, and also transparent reporting, that once they have implemented anything, then they should try to identify what issues were there. whether they were highly burdened on financial activities, or they were burdened on just documentation, or is it just the process where you document things but nothing is changing, and so on. So if those impacts, or what is the impact of current regulations, and if they are documentized and evidence is provided to the government, then they would be able to change it. Particularly, it should be scientifically, in the sense of having some evidence with it. And if that evidence is provided to them, I think we can make a lot of change for other people who are trying to follow those changes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sir Tushar, for the question. And of course, for the answers coming from Sir Koo and Dr. Takor. We just have here some comments saying their appreciation to the members of the delivery team from Dr. Estelita Hoson from Baliaug University. Thank you, Dr. Takor and Mr. Hok Koo, for the information you've shared, as well as Ashish, I hope I pronounced the name correctly, Kelkar. Thank you, speakers, for enriching knowledge in CSR activities by corporate sector. Okay. Right, so some more comments. Okay, so I think this is a question. Ma'am Clarissa Floresca, would you like to kindly unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you for the opportunity. I am not sure if I can be heard.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Yes,
I
yes, you can be heard.
show the, I cannot just show the video or my camera because there's some problem also with the internet.
Okay, no worries.
So of course, I thank the two speakers, Sir Koo and Dr. Takore, for all these things that we are learning and relearning. And my question is that, is it possible that a greater part of the CSR of the companies can also focus more on funding, raising awareness, programs like that? No, I'm sure they do, but perhaps more of those for the young people, the grade schoolers, even the high schoolers, and researchers of science high school scholars, like people like in the Philippines, we have Philippine Science and all the Philippine Science across the nation. We have many very good high schoolers, even if they're not in a science school, but they have all these in mind. As long as we make these young people aware of what can be done still in our environment, I'm sure they will have that kind of thinking. How, of course, we already know that how we can, there are many videos already to help many people have a better environment and also help the environment. But then also of these, I think, for the scholars, for those who can become leaders later on, they're made aware of these things earlier, and if exchange programs with other universities in other countries, it's possible that we can have a future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Clarissa, for asking the question. Certainly, companies should play a role in raising awareness and funding such projects or programs for raising awareness. And in fact, a lot of companies, let's say in the plastic area, would have to educate people of all levels, from elementary school children to secondary school to researchers, on the proper role of plastics in our environment, in our society. Not all plastics are bad. Long-term use plastics can have a very good case made for them, but it is the habitual part of the wasteful part of single-use plastics that maybe we need to be aware of, and how to minimize our use. And there are many different kinds of plastics. For example, we have examples of various plastic companies here in Malaysia willing to provide budgets for such education programs. I'm sure in other countries there are too, especially for recycling plastic and to reduce the use in marine litter, which is a very serious problem in our archipelago. The seas, our Southeast Asian Malay archipelago that we all share, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, in our region. So that's a very major cause of concern, marine litter. And there are many companies that are jointly coming together to do this. So I think this should be very relevant. I'm going to leave the question of scholarships to Dr. Renuka because that's the education sector, and I think she would like to say something about that.
Okay, thank you, Ku. What I believe here, that certainly I agree that young students and young graduates needs such a support, and we need to support them. So how we can bring this support? I would say if we, there are several ways of bringing scholarships, but this is hard. The easiest way is to encourage local businesses to engage with university students, bring them there, and possibly provide each student an internship or apprenticeship to work with those local businesses and understand. And I would be very happy to initiate such a program because I'm already doing one program with Indian University where we are trying to conduct a challenge where we are going to challenge students to become an entrepreneur of sustainable business. And we are going to ask them to bring a real scenario where they might be or not, it may be a virtual business or maybe a real business, but they can bring out a scenario of sustainable business and see what they can do with it. And that is how we are going to educate them with the business acumen, competent age, and the sustainability of this coming business world, I think, future. And similar programs can be implemented in Philippines too. And I would be happy to discuss this if anyone wants. And that is all. I think there are mutual benefits to industry, business, university and the students, everyone. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Clarissa, for that question and as well as for the answers. There are some more appreciations coming from Sir Mandali. I think this is a question coming from Ashish Kelkar. Ma'am or sir, would you like to unmute yourself and ask your question? Or I'll just read it for you. Okay. The question is, are CSR initiatives are too little and too late?
If I may, I'd like to answer that question. I saw the question on the chat box.
Hello, Sir Ku.
Yes. The idea of CSR, I mean, CSR started in 1980, but it caught on in the decades after that. But your question of whether they are too little, too late is a question of whether the impact on the world has it come at a time when the damage is already done so much that there is no this is CSR, it's not a solution. My position and my understanding is that when you have companies coming from a point of view that the externalities and the impact on the environment is not to be considered at all in their accounting and in their business strategies, which is really, I wouldn't say anti-environment, but not for the environment. And to expect them to adopt a holistic worldview right away is not realistic, not easy to actually expect. In fact, the expectation should be that every company, every corporate leader has their own path to sustainability to undertake, and they may be at different paths, including those of the extractive industries, which in my view also are the holdouts because they fossil fuels and mining and all that, they basically depend on the environment which they extract. But the question is whether they can do it sustainably. Everyone has their position in the journey, and we can only enact laws to require them to observe certain practices. Otherwise, it's all voluntary, and they do it on their own creed, on their own choice, volition. So, if a company adopts CSR, we shouldn't criticize them for it, but encourage them to do so. But encourage them to continue to do even more as they realize that it is beneficial for them, and to take the path down towards more compliances or more activities and practices that will help them be not only more friendly to the environment, but to their own employees and to their own customers, and to take a much better positioning within society as a whole. So in other words, we need to force people or force corporations through laws to behave in certain ways, such as laws for plastics are now being discussed. There's a global treaty for plastics being suggested that's mandatory for countries to follow. That will require companies to adopt certain practices. So that's in answer to your question, maybe what is required. But overall, as CSR, we can only expect companies to do what they can do according to the level of understanding, and hopefully they will do more as time progresses, and if they can afford it, because they have to look at other bottom lines, like they have to pay their salaries, they have to make minimum profit margins and all that. We understand all that, but businesses shouldn't be made at a cost to society and to the environment. Thanks. I hope
Thank you,
Renuka has
Ku.
something to say. Yeah.
Thank you, Ku. I think you also, and probably Ashish, who asked the question, everyone is still in a doubt whether we want to do it or not. And that's why this question arises. Probably there is no question like this. I think we all must join the voice that we have to do it now and now. That's all. There's no question whether we started late or we should have started before. It is to be done, and it is an urgently done. Like, it has to be done urgently. And that's all. We have to just keep that in mind, a positive view of going forward without any having doubt. Yes, we shouldn't be having doubt on any probably the technologies or things which might have provided us with some sort of indication that they are unsustainable, and therefore we can have doubt with those technologies, but not doubt our decision of going forward with addressing these problems. And what the CSR does, that it is trying to address the societal problems and position itself as a leader to bring up a better future for everyone, maybe its own self, for its own stakeholders, for its own shareholders, and many others. So I think there's no question when to start. It is to start now and do it. That's all.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ku and Dr. Takor, for answering that concern. Before I proceed into the next question, I think this is a very insightful comment from our very own president, Dr. Patricia Lagunda from Baliaug University. Dr. Lagunda, would you mind sharing your very insightful comment regarding the role of the academe or the education? Dr. Lagunda?
Yes, Hasmin.
Yes,
Sorry,
ma'am.
I wasn't planning to show myself, and I just typed my comments. No, I was as I was chatting away, as I said, that as educators, we are of course, in the best position to raise awareness on sustainability, the SDGs, CSR, ESGs, and other themes, no, along these lines among our stakeholders, no, not just students, but our teaching, non-teaching faculty, our alumni, the parents, of course, and the communities we belong to. I can see a way by which we can contribute towards the realization of the SDGs. One is to align our, let's say, our research agenda along the SDGs, and also align our community outreach programs, as well as integrate and embed topics of this nature into our curricular programs and in content development and in creating our syllabi across all programs. I think it is our responsibility to take the lead. And yes, if time allows and if there are opportunities to partner with the corporate sector in creating awareness programs for the SDGs and coming up with activities and practices to raise awareness and create this sense of urgency among our youth. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Renuka and Mr. Koo, for the very, very insightful and very valuable learning this afternoon.
Thank you very much, Dr. Legunda, for sharing your views regarding the topic. All right, I think we are reaching into the final question for today, or for tonight, or for the morning, coming from Ma'am Bella Anis. She's having an internet connectivity concern, so I'll just be reading your question, ma'am. Okay, so as we all surely complete our 2021 corporate responsibility goals and look ahead to the challenges facing society over the next decade, could our ambitions and opportunities be greater to unleash the power of data, using updated technology and engineering innovation to build a more responsible, inclusive, and sustainable future for everyone?
Hello.
Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah.
Would I go first or Dr. Renuka go first?
Go on, Koo, because I was not able to hear the question at all due to lack of the voice.
I will proceed. Basically, the question is about using technology to improve sustainability strategies and approaches. I suppose it's by all parties, including corporates and government and civil society. Certainly, technology is one of the key elements to use when it comes to tackling this issue of sustainability. We should use data in terms of all the data that we have gathered, maybe through machine learning and through AI, to develop better resource management, better consumer utilization of products so that there's less waste and more efficiency. So we have all those aspects that we could possibly make use of data. And definitely in terms of engineering innovations as well, one cannot say that it is irrelevant or unusable. It is in fact part and parcel of sustainability. So this is where sustainability innovation comes to play. Thank you.
Okay, I read the question now, and yes, exactly as you said, I think these all AI technologies and all other things are support tools for us to move forward. But what is needed is to understanding of what is alternative, what are alternatives, and how we can move this forward, how we can buy in everyone to move forward with a very fast pace, and that is what we need now. We have technologies, and like, because I have been assessing few technological trends,
Many technology trends or initiatives have failed to move people or to for the buy-in of the people. And therefore, we need to make sure that whatever the technologies we are providing or the AI solutions we are providing, we are not counting or not having a very, very negative impact on what we want to achieve, actually. So, for example, OTED impacting people's jobs and the skills. Do we want that? So we need to think of a way going forward where we can balance all our desire objectives and bringing multidimensional sustainability going forward. I would say that. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. Once again, thank you to the members of the delivery team for generously answering the questions of our participants. Once again, let's give the members of the delivery team our virtual claps. Thank you again. At this juncture, may I now request everybody's cooperation in evaluating our webinar. Okay, so kindly check the chat box for the evaluation link. Please answer the evaluation before the end of the program. So to those who have questions on how you can get your electronic certificate, kindly be informed that e-certificates will be directly emailed to the participants. This is a sample certificate that you will receive later on. We are almost done with our 5th webinar. The members of the delivery team have more in store for all of us, envisioning the empowerment of the participants to take an active role in shaping a sustainable future. On that note, we are all heading to the last remaining webinar on the topic Leading Sustainable Transformation, which will happen on April 22. Just a recap, we are done with the following topics from numbers 1 to 5. Allow me to read those topics. The introduction to sustainability, systems thinking and problem analysis, the meaning and impact of the SDGs, sustainability leadership, and today, we're almost done with global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. We hope to see you on April 22 about leading sustainable transformation. We now come to the end of our webinar, inspired and motivated to come together for sustainable futures. Well, just a reminder, we shall have our group picture taking in a while. For the formal closing of our event, let me give the virtual floor to Dr. Flordelisa A. Castro, the Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the School of Graduate Studies of Baliaug University, for her closing remarks. Dr. Castro.
I wish to extend my appreciation to the delivery team of the Shaping Sustainable Futures Together series. Global Sustainable Futures, University College of Estate Management, Maastricht University in the Netherlands, and the Opeduca Project. We have learned and been inspired from the discussion this afternoon on global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. We have learned and been inspired that achieving global sustainability is making sure that all components within a system are developing, growing without sacrificing the other components. Global sustainability and corporate social responsibility cannot be separated. Corporate social responsibility, CSR, is our commitment to manage the social, environmental, and economic effects of its operations responsibly and in line with public expectations. These are our keys to achieving a sustainable future. True enough, we have our roles to play in the realization of the Sustainable Development Goals 2030, which, when attained, will provide us a better and more sustainable future for all. We have to be flexible and promote synergy, cooperation among us for a sustainable future. On a very simple manner, we can realize global sustainability if we embrace the global goals. Once again, in behalf of our president and the university, Baliaug University, I'd like to express our deepest appreciation to the members of the delivery team, led by Dr. Renuka Tapore, Dr. Chose Yusen, and Professor Ku Hook An, for their expertise and comprehensive discussion on global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. In closing, I wish to see all of you in the culminating activity, which is scheduled on April 22 next month. Thank you, and as we say it here in the university, Baliaug University, let's be the best that we can be. Again, see you on April 22. Good day, good afternoon, good morning, and thank you, everyone.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Castro. May I now request everyone to kindly turn on your cameras or your videos if you can for our group picture taking. Ms. Reina Flor Castro, take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Tayao. I removed my mask for our group picture taking for a while only. Okay, so again, everyone, may we ask you to open your cameras and show us your beautiful and handsome faces. So thank you again for joining us in today's session. All right, so I'm in the first frame. So kindly just open your camera and smile. I count of 3, 1, 2, 3, smile. First frame. I'm now in the second frame. Smile. Let me paste it in my computer file. And then third frame. 1, 2, 3, smile. All right, thank you so much. I think I got it already. So, Dr. Tea?
Thank you very much, Ms. Bubbles. All right, so again, thank you very much for everybody's active engagement. Let's be further challenged to expand our horizons on global sustainability and corporate social responsibility. Again, I am Hasmin Tayao from Baliaug University, Philippines. See you all in the last and culminating activity this April 22, 2022. Stay safe, everyone.
Leave meeting.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Kailan